When the ground is shaking and the world is changing.
With all the hockey hullabaloo and that pitch and Murray too. Blame Canada!
Please let this be a normal field trip.
With a breeze? No way!
Hey guys, I'm gonna try the flaming hot. I can't see myself in this. If I move myself, I can. Here guys, I'm gonna try it. I give it a 9 out of 10. Time to get our grub on. First thing we're gonna try is the bruschetta. Let me try the bruschetta. Mmm. 10 out of 10 because of the texture. Okay, here's the second course. Chicken cacciatore. Let's try that cacciatore. I give that 9 out of 10. Excellent.
Good times never seem so good. Oh, I'm inclined to believe they never would.
Hey everyone, this is our hotel room. We had a first successful day of Comic Con, day 1. Let's get ready for day 2.
Whereas today, everything is, we live in what is known as the cancel culture, I believe. Sensibilities that were perhaps expected in the 90s are not necessarily
appreciated.
less embarrassing in the 2000s. So it's a different thing. But the Bel Air show is a rethink of the characters in the Fresh Prince of Bel Air. But it isn't the Fresh Prince of Bel Air. They just happen to have the same names. Right. Yeah. There's something kind of very, in my opinion, slightly down market about it. But there you go.
And now you know.
No thoughts or anything about it, because I was in London when they came and asked me and took me to America to be in this show. So the kind of sociological disappointments of the show has absolutely nothing, doesn't mean anything to me. What is important to me is the fact when I play Jeffrey, you know, when I'm on camera, you don't look at anything else. I leave the sociology to you.
Now, did they go across the pond to cast this role, or like was it
Yes,
someone
they came to England and got me, yes.
Hello. What's your fondest memory of working with the late James Avery?
My fondest memory is not necessarily to do with work. We were very close friends because we have a theater background. So we went to Vermont. God, I can't remember her name. Do you remember the teacher who went up in Apollo 13? I think it was. Was it Krista McCullough. Thank you, ma'am. There's a memorial award for her by the state of Vermont. Vermont is not in Massachusetts. Anyway, by Vermont, and James and I were invited, and I think it was November sometime, 1994, and they made us skis, got our skiing up to scratch, and James and I, he was there and I was here, Lenny and George from Of Mice and Men, we just simply did our thing, and we went off, and and we somehow managed to get onto the diamond route, which is, I believe, just the most dangerous, and to be pretty skillful to do that. And so we went off, and as we were skiing skiing down, slowly falling, standing up, it began to snow, and we just kept going. And of course, we got caked in snow. James's beard, my eyebrows, and in the distance you could hear these voices. What's going on? And we're just trying to get down, and this machine appeared out of the snow, and these two men came up and said, "Get down, God damn it, get out of fucking snow! You guys gonna die! This is dangerous!" And it's, what? We're going down. I said, "No, man, there's a snowstorm. You should not be up here. You guys can't ski anywhere." So they took us up, and they brought us back, and I mean, we weren't frozen, but we were seriously caked in snow. I was kind of like this in June, and they took us to the fire and stuff. Just horrible. And that is my fondest and most favorable memory of James Avery.
The time we almost died.
That time we almost died.
My question is, what was your favorite moment on the job?
On the job,
Yeah.
my favorite moment. Define moment.
Favorite episode, favorite interactions with.
Oh, okay. It's you have to understand that I'm a foreigner. I'm not an American.
Yeah.
So it was not. When I opened my mouth to speak, everybody was going, "What? Tell me, it's for real?" That kind of stuff. And so my fondest and most heartwarming moment is one day when I think it was about we opened on the 8th of September 1990, and by mid-November we were flying, and for that moment when we discovered that we were unassailable, we were the business, it became everybody talked about us, not Will, not James, not Karen, not Alfonso, not Tatiana, but us. And that's when yeah, that was my favorite moment. And then there were other moments when, you know, I messed up and stuff, but that was.
Thank you, Chief.
You're very welcome.
So hi, G. I guess my question to you is, what advice or wisdom can you give for new and upcoming actors?
Okay, upcoming actors. Okay. Learn the lines and don't trip over the furniture.
And if you trip over the furniture, make like it was part of the lines.
No, I mean, in fact, it is as simple as that. Because there are so many things that you need to do. You need to create a character, you need to imbibe it, you need to make it yours, you need to become it, you need to learn the lines, you need to follow the direction, you need to remember where you are, you need to do all those things. And in the end, it's, are you early for your entrance? Are you late for your entrance? Are you entering on time? Do you remember the role? But also, have you done your pre-curtain? Who am I? Why am I here? What do I hope to achieve? How far am I willing to go to achieve this? What am I willing to sacrifice? You have to ask yourself all these questions. And as I said to the young lady before, you have to do everything you do, be it one line or I don't know, the Holy Bible, whatever. You do it to the best of your ability. Learn it, you learn it, you learn it until you're bored. But you do it to the best of your ability. And that's the best advice. Because if you do that, if the director asks you to do, I don't know, jump from the ceiling, you can do it. You just, you become it, you do it well. And you leave nothing to chance.
Thank you, G. Alright, it's time to grab some grub for day 2. We are going to Zappy's. Let's go. Here we got the bacon cheeseburger pizza. Let's give it a go. I give that a solid 9 out of 10.
So long. What are some of your takeaways when you see the love that you've gotten throughout these generations?
Well, I mean, it's a couple of answers there. One is the sort of miracle of good luck that I was cast in Risky Business, because Risky Business basically was I'd worked in the theater for years before that, but Risky Business was the first thing I did outside of the theater. And it was not a huge, like, blockbuster hit, but a lot of directors and writers saw it and admired it. And so with Revenge of the Nerds, I got cast in Revenge of the Nerds because Jeff Canoe, who directed it, loved Risky Business. And then I got cast in Better Off Dead because Savage Steve Holland loved both Risky Business and Nerds. So, and then, Moonlighting. When Moonlighting Moonlighting came along a couple of years later, Glenn Caron was a huge fan of Risky Business. So all of this stuff happens because of one or two movies. By the middle of the 1980s, the template for my career up till now was set. Really by Risky Business, Revenge of the Nerds, Better Off Dead, Moonlighting. By the time I was in the 90s, somebody would cast me because of one of those things. There have been a few exceptions, but not many. So it's luck. Generationally, and it's also luck because of the parts, because they were sort of gaudy, you know, obviously Booger and Charles DeMar, they're pretty gaudy, memorable characters for good reasons and bad. And so that helps. But generationally, it's cool because then you have, you know, it goes beyond even your examples to stuff like, I did one episode of iCarly. I became known to an entire generation of young girls mainly as the pirate guy. And it's like they have no sense of anything that came before iCarly or after iCarly, just that one episode.
And someone over there saying, yes, that's me.
Well, I mean, but that's another of these marvelous things. Now, you know, Dan Schneider hired me. He was the producer of iCarly. He was also Ricky, the next door neighbor, in Better Off Dead. And when he became a producer and a director, he would call up and say, I've got this, you know, one-day thing on iCarly or whatever. Do you want to do it? Okay, you know. So that's why I say all of these kinds of things happened as a result of maybe 4 jobs.
And that's great too. And we were talking about it prior to you getting out here. A testament to your career is the longevity and the variety of the roles that you get.
Yeah.
But how much of this, and I don't know if I was speaking out of school, but I see a lot of times.
You mean, do I
sets.
sleep with people for that?
I wasn't going to go. I wasn't going hard.
I mean, that would be like really.
How long did you work for Miramax? No, I'm kidding. How important though really is it being able to get along with people as well?
No human can belch the way we need you to belch. So we'll lay it in post. And so Don and I pretend to belch, and that was the end of that. And then it comes out, and it's very funny, and it goes on forever, and it's disgusting. And I found out subsequently from Tim Busfield, who played Poindexter.
Yeah.
Tim was in the post-production of Revenge of the Nerds because he was even then interested in directing, so he wanted to see how that worked. And they happened to be doing the audio post for the belching contest. The story was they auditioned belchers for this. They went to everybody's belching contests and all of these things of people who were famous belchers. And
who knew?
I didn't even think was a thing. So they couldn't find anybody who could belch the way they wanted to belch. So they started going through recordings of animals, trying to see if there was anything that would work. And they finally found a recording, don't ask me where, of 2 camels mating. And one of the camels has an orgasm, and that orgasm is what is coming out of Booger's mouth. And, well, I can't remember, it was either when Tim and Bobby and I were doing the extras for the, whatever it was, platinum, ridiculous thing, the box set maybe, I can't remember, or whether it was just, we were just talking. But Tim, I was asked about the belching because I always get asked about the belching, and Tim said, "Oh man, don't you remember? I told you." And I said, "No, what?" That was when years later, I find out it's a camel orgasm. So, better late than never.
Next time I watch that, all I'm going to hear is David Attenborough come in.
No.
You know, you can't unhear it.
Right, yeah, I'm actually dreading and anticipating watching it again now.
Well, don't share
No.
too much of that with us, because that begins to sound a little weird.
That's actually going to be his next TikTok video, don't worry.
Yesterday, that I auditioned for that the same day that I auditioned for Metatron on Supernatural. It was a weird coincidence. Because if I get auditions, I never get 2 in a day. But this was like, had to do them, and then got both of them. And then for the next several years, I was bopping back and forth. You know, the best part of New Girl was working with Zoe, because she was virtually the only person I ever saw. So not ever saw, but most of my scenes were with her, which is awesome anyway, because she's nice as well as being really funny and very good with improv and all that. And which I'm not, by the way. And so she was fantastic. And what they would do is, because of having Supernatural at the same time, and King of the Nerds was happening at the same time too. So all 3 of those things were going on at once. So what they would do is they would write Principal Foster's scenes out, and then, 3 episodes worth of stuff I would come in and do with Zoe, just in a chunk, and they would put it together later. Go change costumes and then back and do another scene and so on and so forth. So, but it was actually funny with Zoe, because the first episode that I did, there was a scene with the 2 of us at her desk in the classroom. And the way that it was written, I could see that they were going to cut away to something else, I don't remember what it was, in the classroom, and that we would be continuing to have a conversation. So I knew I'm not an improv guy. I can't do improv to save my life. So, and I didn't know whether she did or not either at that point. And so I made up dialogue in my head for the rest of the scene, so that I wouldn't get hung up while this other scene was going on. And I started this whole run in my head of what I would say to Zoe when we were, continuing the scene. And she just, once the camera was rolling and I started doing this, it was like, she came right back. We went back and forth and back and forth. When it was finally done, she said, "Your improv skills are amazing. Where did you study?" And I went, just knock it off.
Natural. Got a question up front.
King of the Nerds was part of that process, because we would get these young people in to do King of the Nerds, all of whom had their own passions in one fandom or one nerd quality or another. And we would learn all of this stuff from them. And I totally get it, even though it's not necessarily my fandom.
Right.
I understand the gene that everybody here has about one thing or another.
Yeah, because we say it all the time, everybody has something they geek out to.
Absolutely.
Geeking out does not have to be solely video games, comic books.
No.
Tech.
Yeah, we're 2 of the biggest sports geeks there are.
Yeah, we're
Right.
huge sports
And
geeks.
and something else that never was on my radar was sports of any kind.
Yeah. Well, I was a theater geek too. We have a question over here.
Yeah, we had one back there and then one over here in the back too.
Right there, that's right. I forgot already.
Hi, Curtis.
Hi.
Thanks for being here. I guess what I have is more of a comment that segues into a question. Being a Gen X person, your early career is like, the songs of my youth, so to speak, right?
Sure.
So, if you'll indulge me for a second, looking back, you have Risky Business, Revenge of the Nerds, Better Off Dead, Clan of the K-Bear, One Crazy Summer, boom, 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 boom. How lucky were you in your early career? I mean, that's amazing. Those are like classics from people who grew up in the 80s.
Yeah, but it was also something that was not registering for us at that time at all.
Right.
That's what another time when I say it's a job, it's like, no one wanted to do Revenge of the Nerds. The actors didn't want to do it. The director didn't want to do it. We were just doing it because it was a job. And, you know, I've told this story before. I read for Anthony Edwards' part. I read for Gilbert. And when they turned me down, they then said, but we would like him to do one of the other nerds. And I remember I'm in New York then, and I'm going through it and I'm thinking, well, wait a minute. So it's not Takashi.
It's not,
And it's not Lamar. And I'm too old for Wormser. So I figured it was either with Tim Busfield's part, or Booger. And even then, I pushed back at the idea of doing. I was a classically trained actor, and I was not going to pick my nose.
And all of a sudden you're wearing a Who Farted t-shirt.
For people on a screen. I had just finished Risky Business, which was a classy movie, and I was not going to lower myself to do this. So I called him back, and I said, my agent, and I said, you tell them that if they want me to play Poindexter, I'll play Poindexter, but I am not going to play Booger. Just say no. If they offer Booger, say no. So he calls the casting director, and then he calls me back. He said, well, they offered you Booger. I said, okay. I just had to get that out, you know. As an actor, I needed to get it out that I didn't want to demean myself. But half of what we are paid to do is demean ourselves. So
I've been doing it for years with no pay.
well, that's an amateur. You then become professional.
That's
and
next.
somehow that's worse.
He is a professional fool. He just doesn't get the money. Question over there.
Hi, Curtis. I was just wondering, when you worked in Risky Business with Tom and Rebecca, good morning, did either one of you guys have a crush on Rebecca? Because she was
The world had that crush.
Well, yeah, I mean, it was more than a crush with Tom. I mean, Tom and Rebecca were an item while we were making the movie. So, and everybody knew it. I mean, it was not a secret. But because no one knew who they were, no one cared. But a year later, I was in New York. Bronson Pinchot, who was in that movie too, he and I were hanging out in New York, and we got a call from Tom saying that he and Rebecca were coming into town to promote the movie. So Bronson and I went to their hotel, which was some swanky hotel, I can't remember which one, in Manhattan, and we all had dinner in their suite. And they were still really, really involved with each other for a long time. That was a serious relationship for him, for both of them.
He doesn't strike me as the type that does anything that's not serious.
Sorry?
That was before she became a psychopath actress.
Yeah, well, no, I mean, he'd done like 3 movies or something, including one with Coppola. I mean, before Risky Business. And one with Zeffirelli. Zeffirelli was the director of
Outsiders? No, who did
True
Outsiders?
Love. That's Coppola did that. Zeffirelli did True Love. I can't remember. His first movie when he was 16. So he came into it working with world-class directors. But she'd never done anything.
Yeah, you're talking Tom's first movie, The Outsiders.
Yeah, I can't hear you.
Was she saying the first movie was The Outsiders?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. We got time for one last question if someone's got it. If not.
Rightio.
Oh, right there.
I just wanted to say, I really love Better Off Dead. It was a great movie. I watched it so many times, and I just wonder what you think.
I love it. I have to tell you, all of those movies from that, really, with movies for me, it's in the top 5. well into the top 5. I just think it's really funny and strange and imaginative, and I love everybody in it. All the actors were so good, and I'm a huge fan of it.
What is your favorite? Do you have like?
I don't really have a favorite.
Yeah.
I mean,
you
it's
just have the Mount Rushmore sort of thing.
We have one more quick one in the back here.
My husband's name is also Curtis, and his favorite scene in Revenge of the Nerds is when you say, "We've got Bush."
Yeah.
I just want to know, was that phrase part of the script, or is that something that you...
It was almost certainly part of the script. We did do some improv, but it was all on-set stuff. It was, everybody says, how much of it was made up on the spot. Most of it wasn't. Most of it was in the script. But the original script that we started with had been rewritten by the time we got to Arizona. So the script that we were all sort of meh about, that had started to change. And then we did more of it when we were on set. But the Booger stuff, Booger was a tiny role. And he was mainly like Ogre. He was the nerd's ogre. And there was very little in it, but that, I think, was sort of a pivotal role that would have been in the script.
All right, that's some great questions there.
That yourself?
I'm afraid that when I get, I could do, I just can't, it's very easy for me, frankly. And my daughter sounds like that all the time. And so it's somewhere, it's genetic defect of mine. Yeah.
And for,
I couldn't help it, that's the real answer.
And for Andy, what was it like working with the puppet on the set? Like, was it hard working? Like, because back then there was no CGI or anything like that, right? So...
Oh, there still really isn't. Well, it comes with challenges. Chucky gets a lot of takes, I describe often that if you're sharing a screen with the doll, you might have to do it several times for the doll to move the right way. But then once he does, that's the take that they're keeping. So you gotta kind of be on all the time. If it took 20 minutes for Chucky to do the right thing, you can't really ask for another take if he finally does it. But it's always fun. Very cool starting from there, and then especially when I was young, not knowing what it would really look like, on the screen. So always fun.
Awesome. I just wanted to thank you both. I always had a personal connection with Andy because in the movies, his birthday was November 9th, and that was my birthday too. So.
Oh, cool.
Thank you very much for everything, guys.
Thank you.
My question is for Brad. The first time I saw you was in a film, one of my all-time favorite films, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. And I always wondered, what kind of preparation did you guys do back in '75 to, play mental patients? I know that things would have been a lot different if this film now. As what kind of preparation did you guys go and do for that movie?
Well, I mean, the first problem for me was, of course, the stutter, and I called people and asked people, how do you do a stutter? And somebody was teaching, helping people speech therapy for stutterers in college, and it was an actual textbook that went through a stutter, and I got that, and then I worked with somebody who was a therapist specifically for stuttering, and I just worked backwards. What you do is you go places that have a lot of pressure, and if you stutter and you try to just get through without stuttering, and and even if you stutter, you force yourself to go through it, so it's not so scary. You learn that, and what I learned is that people were very patient with stutterers. Like, people would really, I went to Grand Central Station to the information place where there are crowds of people and a lot of pressure and the guy completely stopped, and it was really cool. So I learned that people are better than you think they are, and eventually I taught myself how to stutter.
That's great. Thanks very much.
Sure.
So I got a question for Brad and then for both.
So the first one would be, what was your favorite movie to film out of the Child's Play series?
Oh, that's easy. That was Bride, because before that I'd done 3 movies where I was alone in a studio, you know, sometimes big studio, and just me, the mic, and a voice from beyond telling me sort of what to do. It was lonely, and I would do that for 2 or 3 days. And then suddenly I got to work with Jennifer, and we were glass booths, and we were kind of faking sex through the glass. That's way more fun. So yeah. What can I tell you? You can't beat that with a stick. I mean.
And the second question would be, now I'm gonna lose it. What was your favorite death out of all the movies?
I think my favorite death in the entire franchise was in season 1 of this show with Bree falling out the window, getting pushed out the window, excuse me. I think it was just shot really beautifully. It was, Teo's reaction, Junior's reaction with his mother through the glass right inches from his face, the scream he let out, the way it was shot as she was falling, the unexpected nature of her, you know, making the decision she did and then dying minutes later. I think that was my favorite.
Oh, that was definitely a good one. Right?
My favorite death?
Yeah, your favorite death.
I really don't like death, you know?
I mean, you beat a teacher to death with a ruler. That's
that was
pretty
good.
great.
That was good. Okay, thank you.
Awesome, thank you.
Hi, my question's for Brad. In the TV series, in the flashback scenes, your daughter reprised the role that you originated back in the first Child's Play movie, which I thought was just an amazing choice. That was one of my favorite things about the series. Did you guys work together to prepare her for that? Or do you know how she prepared to play the same role that her father? I don't think that's ever been done in the history of film or television, as far as I know.
Well, I know nothing about history of things, so I'll just agree with you. You know, this was really Fiona's work, you know, and I had hardly anything to do. Of course she asked me, because I've been doing character parts for years and years, and I basically told her that the first thing you do is you realize is that women lead with their hips, men lead with their chest. So, you know, instead of, you know, going like this, you know, you go like this. So that's the basic difference, and you practice that. And I said, she wanted to come and like follow me around everywhere I went, which sounded like the worst fucking week I could ever spend. So I said, listen, you know, you shouldn't follow me around, go and watch the movie, you know, because then you're gonna get how. And that's what she did. And I thought I liked her Charles Lee Ray better than mine, frankly. I thought she really was a little bit sleazier and snakier than I was in a way, and I had to ADR her. In other words, it was my voice instead of hers, and I thought that was kind of sad at moments where I thought she did stuff that I couldn't. There's no way I could do what she did. But I'm more than a little proud.
Yeah, good. I hope so. She was amazing, and I can't wait to see all of you guys back again for another season.
Well, you will.
Thank you.
Hello.
Hi. Hello.
Hi. My question is, as an actor, how do you find your energy changes based on the people who you're around? Like if you're around a puppet or if you're around a real person, like you've acted with Sir Ian McShane and like some really big personalities. Do you find that your energy changes?
Have they knighted him?
I think so. I'm not sure.
Me, I don't. When did that happen?
Yeah.
Because he wasn't knighted, he was like the only Ian in all of Britain that wasn't a knight, you know? I don't know, I think you should be the first because you spent more time acting with a doll than I have.
Yeah. You can't really prepare as much as you think you can sometimes for a scene, and you can, even if you do, you don't really know the energy that the other character is going to bring in that moment. So I think you do have to kind of just live in that moment and play off of that. As far as working with Chucky, I mean, I've done it for so long, so I can kind of predict where it's gonna go. But, you know, I've said many times that it helps me tremendously that in most cases it's Brad's voice on set, because he does it all first, for the most part. And it's a lot easier to act to Brad saying he's gonna kill you than a script supervisor just, you know, reading off the
It
lines.
sounds like this.
Yeah.
I'm going to kill you.
Yeah, so having Brad's voice there certainly is the right energy for that.
Yeah, I would much prefer acting with Ian than I would with anything animatronic. That's all I gotta say.
Yeah.
Different energy, yeah. Thank you.
Hi, my question is for Brad. You played a very different kind of serial killer in The Exorcist 3. So I'm curious, what kind of preparation do you do for these roles? Is there a lot of research involved, or is there like a specific serial killer that you base these performances on?
I think you'll find that very few, it's very hard to research the devil, what the devil is really like, you know, because it's just people's imagination. So when I did Exorcist 3, Bill Blatty had a lot invested in that idea. I mean, that he wrote the whole series of that. I mean, he wrote that book because he wanted to prove that there was such a thing as God. And there was an incident where some pretty remarkable things had happened with somebody who was supposedly possessed by the devil. And I mean, this is a thing that really, so of course when the devil is talking, you know, he invested everything. So he basically coached me, directed me line by line. As a matter of fact, it got so bad that I was delivering every line framed in gold, and they listened to it, and it really was bad. And they had to redo the whole scene because it was just, I wasn't throwing anything away, you know, it was just trying to please Blatty. So, yeah, there is no, like I say, there's no preparation for that. As far as the other thing, sometimes it's about the event, and there's just a level of fun in horror that you can't prepare for. You just have to go and have fun. So I got the accent, and then I gave myself that it's really, really fun to kill people, you know, that was really, and then I also gave myself that that Chucky was afraid of oblivion. He really did not want to cease to exist. So those two things.
Thank you.
I have to go on tippy toes. I'm vertically challenged. This is a question for Alex. I think one of the wonderful things about the first Child's Play movie is the chemistry you had with Catherine Hicks. And I was just wondering, do you have any memories you can share working with Catherine? And as a young actor, was it challenging for you to differentiate between fact and fiction?
So your second question there, no, actually, it wasn't. I was a really bright kid. I had the entire script memorized, and not just my lines, but everyone's lines. I kind of taught myself to read with that script, reading it over and over again. So no, I never thought that the doll was really real or trying to kill me or anything like that. When you're doing the same thing over and over again all day long too, it's kind of difficult to believe that, it's not like they trapped me in a room with Chucky and said he's alive and trying to kill you and just shot reaction shots. As far as the first part of your question, yes, Catherine had never played a mother in anything yet at that point. She wasn't a mother either. And so she took a lot of extra time really getting to know me. And it was my first film too, so it was helpful for both of us to have that chemistry and that good relationship with each other. So in the first couple weeks of being in Chicago, we spent as much time together as we could. She'd take me out to lunch a lot. And my acting coach, Margaret, found a little crystal ball on the floor in the ladies' room and gave it to her and said she should give it to me and tell me it was like a magic ball that if I had it with me, I would do a great job on the movie or whatever, something like that. And she did, and she gave it to me, and that helped bond us quickly. I still have it.
Thank you so much.
Thanks.
That was one of the best collective awes I've
It's because they picture my little 6-year-old face, that's why.
Hi gentlemen, thank you for being here. So my question is for both of you. Your characters, how much do the writers look to you for direction to inform their writing or mine you for ideas? Because just growing up Andy and the scene in the TV series when Andy and Kyle kind of come in and surprise the Chucky doll and then just execute him in the living room like, fuck you, Andy. That was so incredible. And I was just wondering if that part of you was in that scene or if you just followed their direction wholly, but in general, how much do they look to you to help inform their writing for your character?
Don doesn't have to look to me, I'm always going to him with things. And he accuses me of rewriting all of his shit sometimes. But no, it's been collaborative to a degree. I mean, Don has his, main ideas about what he wants, and that doesn't really change too much. I've affected the dialogue a little bit over the years. Even from the second film, I was writing some of my own lines that, hey Kyle, you want to hear me say your name backwards? Kyle, that was my line. I wrote that. The fact that I smoked a joint with Chucky was kind of my doing. With help from Don on that. Yeah, there were a bunch of things over the years. Even the conversation that I had with Tiffany on the phone was kind of a collaborative idea. But as far as that Reservoir Dogs Pulp Fiction scene, that was all Don. But it was a lot of fun.
Cool. Thank you.
Thank you.
I have another question for each of you. For Brad, do you find it more challenging to do voice acting or to act in front of the camera?
Which do I like better?
Yeah,
Sorry. Which do I like better?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. I guess camera. It's easier because it's easier and it's a lot more pressure. Is what is my answer because you're using all of yourself. You have to be much better prepared to do a live thing in front of camera. You gotta know your lines really well. Well, I have to. I'm a slow line learner, so it takes a lot more work. And my body's involved, so if there's anything different about my body, I have to rehearse that over and over and over and over and over again. So but by the time I get there, it flies.
And for Alex, you were gone from the franchise for so long. What motivated you to come back for Curse?
I would say it was a combination of the fact that Don wanted to bring the character back, which meant a lot to me. And I think it's the fact that I've been doing conventions for 20 years. And this was 2013 when that happened, and I had already been doing them for 10 years and meeting you guys. And I thought it would be fun for you and fun for me.
Well,
It's an easy decision.
thank you very much. I do appreciate it. I kept wondering when you're going to come back. Like, so when's the next movie going to have Andy in it?
Thank you.
Thank you for being here. I had a question for Brad. What was the experience with working with David Lynch on Blue Velvet?
David, well, on Blue Velvet, well, I'd worked with him before in Dune, and I found him to be probably the most charming director I've ever worked with. I mean, and everybody thinks that. His directing style is a little strange. I'd like to describe it like he's a painter, and I think he paints. He sees little things that he wants here and there, and he directs in tiny details about things. And he has an extraordinary surreal kind of thing going that is always there in him, and he goes places that I don't know how he gets there, you know. He's really funny and really fun to be around. That's all. And the stories he tells are just like really wacky and wonderful. You know, there's a lot of stories that. How many of you seen what's his first movie? Eraserhead. Well, you guys really need to go see Eraserhead. You know, it's really one of the most bizarre and cool movies ever shot. His description of what it was like to live with Jack Nance and Jack's wife while they were doing that is a kind of everybody was broke and they were just using bits and scrapes of film here and there to do it. It was a pretty extraordinary story.
Thank you.
Hello again.
Hello.
I have a question for the both of you. If you had to switch roles with any other person in the entire cast of Chucky, Child's Play, any of them, what would it be?
I'll let you feel
I don't think I could step in your shoes, even though that sounds fun.
Oh, don't be silly. He wants to play Chucky, and he should.
Yeah. That laugh doesn't come as naturally to me as it does to Fiona, but I'd have to say, well, I know Jennifer Tilly has the most fun, it seems. Mika's maybe the most interesting character. And I don't know, I think I'd be Detective Mike Norris. He was very cool in the first film, I thought.
Chucky's grandfather.
You never know.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Hi, so my question's for Brad. So when you first were told about Child's Play, and before you actually started doing the role, did you ever picture what Chucky would look like in your head, and what was Chucky like? Because you probably envisioned what a killer doll would look like. What was it in your head?
Well, I was told that the doll starts out in the beginning looking like a doll, and then very slowly it begins to transform into looking like me. The studio said, no, you can't do that, because then we'll have to pay Brad for his likeness every time we use the doll and all the marketing. So that ended that paycheck. So I didn't know. I mean, I went in and they eventually showed me pictures of what the doll was going to wind up looking like.
What was your first impression of it?
Boy, it really doesn't look like me. I'll be honest, I mean, I would have made a lot of money if it looked like me.
Especially the size of it.
What?
Especially the size of it.
The size of it.
Yeah, yeah, I thought the look of the doll is really cool. I mean, I really have to say, when it finally went on, it really did look. And seeing a little kid with that big of a doll, I mean, the image of that works so well. It's beyond. It was genius. I mean, it was really a perfect size for a talking doll and for a kid to carry around. It made the kid seem more innocent, and it made the doll's potential far more scary.
I stayed short for 40 years for that reason too.
I know I'll get work.
Thanks so much.
I was lucky enough to see that in the theater in 1988 when the show came out, and it was terrifying parts of it. I think I seen Basket Case like 6 years before that, so it was like that horror genre started rolling with you guys. But I remember seeing you in Mississippi Burning, and the one scene where you're getting shaved, Gene Hackman steps in. That was like, did you stutter in that part too? I remember you were talking about stuttering earlier. Did you like there's a couple of scenes in there where like you were just terrified. Such a well acted scene there. It's like a million views on YouTube of that scene alone.
I became an actor because my mom was an actress, and I used to go and watch her work, and that was the only time during the Hackman scene that my mom ever watched me do a movie. So I was on my toes. Mom's opinion meant a lot.